Okay, once again, welcome to tonight's meeting. And so we'd like for you to tell us what your dream Agile role is or non-Agile in the chat tonight. Also, don't forget to place your LinkedIn contact and connect with someone. Have a 15-minute virtual coffee break to help us build community and get ready to give feedback. So we have an open survey link that we're going to place in the chat, and we ask that you give us some active feedback on your thoughts tonight. Okay, and it is in fact March and not February, but we were still in reconnaissance mode from the recent ice storm. So you're at the right place at the right time. Welcome to tonight's meeting. And so we're going to have a icebreaker tonight with one of our vendors that are near and dear to our heart, Vaca Collective. You may know them from our beautiful new logo, website, and slides that they helped us put together by designing. We're then going to go into announcements, and we're going to hear from our speakers, Eva and Susmitha, tonight. And then we're going to leave a little room for Q&A because you all might have some questions. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Vaca, and we have Jennifer Vaca tonight from Vaca Collective to talk to us about personal branding. And I'm going to stop sharing so that Jennifer can grab the share, and folks are coming. So thank you so much for joining us. We know that there was some technical glitches tonight, so we appreciate you riding with us, and we're going to learn about personal branding. Jennifer, we can see your screen. Let's make sure we can hear you because you're on mute. Okay.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, the Agile team, for inviting us tonight. We're excited to be here and share with you a little bit about the process that we went through with Agile and a different perspective of what it is when we approach a personal brand. So the subject that we're going to be covering today, or that we pretend to show you, is how your personal brand defines your visibility as a professional in the marketplace. So a personal brand perfectly reflects how you're being perceived and is meant to exist to communicate what your unique promise of value is as a professional. So today we're going to review how your career goals, your values, your skills, and your personality shape this unique personal brand that outshines your competition in the marketplace. Okay, so we're first going to review a concept or definition of what a brand is. So a brand is a perception or emotion that's maintained by somebody other than you that describes the experience of having a relationship with you. So definitely having a relationship with somebody and having a perception that causes an emotion in us defines the uniqueness of human existence. So there's no person that's like another. We are unique, you are unique, nobody is like you, and therefore your brand stands for a reflection of that uniqueness. It has to be authentic, it has to be who you really are. It's like your fingertip. So we use the simile of fingertip that is your personal brand. It is created by the public, the perception that the public has of you, the position that you occupy in an industry, to you, what you belong to, your reputation as a professional or an individual, and the reach of influence that you have. You have a circle to which you belong, and you have a certain power to influence these people or individuals that are part of the circle you belong to. So are you ready to discover who you are? We are then going to embark on an exploration of who you truly are.
8, 7, 6, 4, 3, 2, liftoff for the final launch of Endeavor, expanding our knowledge, expanding our lives in space.
Houston, Endeavor, all program. Roger, roll, Endeavor.
Houston is now controlling.
So to start this space exploration, we're going to complete a branding exploration as we go through the presentation. So I want everyone here, if possible, to grab their phones, open this link that's shown in the screen, is bit.ly/yourbrandexploration. It's a very simple questionnaire that we're using to challenge you and think about the subjects that we're going to present today and what the process is to define what your personal brand is going to be. So we're going to follow these steps. We're going to first going to review your self-positioning. Then we're going to review your values and skills. After that, we're going to review what your dreams and goals are as a professional and how they all play out and how your brand is visually created. Okay, so let's start with talking about your self-positioning. It's basically the position you occupy in the world to which you belong. So you are part of a professional ecosystem and you make part or you occupy a position in that professional ecosystem and how you interact with your peers and the circle that you have influence in. And so depending on that circle that you belong to, you have a certain level of influence and reach power. So in this ecosystem, there is an external field to which we belong to, and there is an internal field to which we belong to. So the external field is more of the global environment to which we belong to, and in that field or that place, there are certain agents that exist. So you could be a challenger or a leader. And if you're a challenger, there's some categories such as media, influencers, or content creators. You could also be a leader and be an industry expert or a thought leader, someone that, because their thoughts influence others. In an internal ecosystem, you could be a communicator and as in the form of an online connector, or you can be a broadcaster, somebody that spreads out information. You could also be a visionary in the form of a collaborator or a networker or an enthusiast, someone that is sharing on a certain idea or movement. So in the questionnaire, the first question that we're gonna ask you is what you consider to be your external position. Are you a challenger or are you a leader? You have 20 seconds. You ready? Okay, now we're going to talk about what your internal position is in this ecosystem, meaning in your organization, what your role is of a communicator or a visionary. And keep in mind, you could be both. Okay, now we have your answers. We're going to talk about the power you have to influence others. So in this ecosystem that we talked about, you could be a mega influencer, I mean a celebrity with a massive audience that has enough credibility to create high impact awareness. Or you could be a macro influencer, somebody with like a social media celebrity or a professional blogger. Or you could be a micro influencer. You, as an everyday expert in your respective niche, has the power to share content and create some awareness at a limited level. But also you could be an advocate, somebody that's part of the general public that is willing to share among your circle of influence and create some limited awareness. So based on these ideas, what do you consider to be your level of influence? Okay. If you don't have all your answers or you're not sure about what to answer, don't worry. We can share the link again with you and you can go through this exercise again. Now we're going to review how your personal brand is all about your essence, and it's basically the uniqueness of your character and your authenticity. So who you are is shaped by your values, your strengths, your superpowers, your expertise, and your passions, everything that you're passionate about. So we're first going to review your values, your personal values, and which rank higher in your scale of values. Your skills that are unique to you and what make you unbeatable against your competition. And then your expertise or superpower that make you unique. So in regards to personal values, values are defined as those desirable goals that we have to motivate our actions. And those serve as the principles that guide your life. So in our questionnaire, we're going to provide a set of values in the following questions, and you're more than welcome to choose from those. Select the option that you think better speaks to who you are and your values. There are two questions there. There's one that has certain characteristics or value categories that we've created for you. And in the following one, there's a long list of values you can answer at on your spare time or whenever you want to review this questionnaire. Now we're going to talk about your brand in relation to your skills. There are 5 skills that you need to highlight whenever you're presenting as a professional. And those are important to keep in mind. We're going to begin with your leadership skills, which define your ability to lead a team. Your collaboration skills, which are proven on how well you work with others or how well you're part of team, your teamwork. Your communication skills and the way that you're able to communicate a story or deliver a message. Your work ethic that is revealed in how far would you go to commit to a cause? Are you willing to take the extra mile for whatever cause you're involved in? A very important one is problem solving, which is the ability to solve problems every day. Every day we're faced with challenges. Every day we have to come up with a problem, and it's a very good skill to develop. So in the following question of the questionnaire, I want you to take some time to rate yourself. And don't worry, no one is watching. No one knows what you rate you want to give to yourself. But this is just for you to challenge yourself and see which skills are very prominent in you and which ones you need to work on a little more. And I give you 20 seconds for that. Hopefully you gave yourself a 5-star on every one of them. That definitely sets you as a valuable professional in the marketplace. Now, think about your expertise. If you're an expert on something, that is your superpower and it's what sets you apart from the bulk of professionals. So I want you to think about next on what your superpower is. What is the one thing you're good at that people will go to and say, yes, you are good at this, I need your help? And again, like if you don't know exactly what superpower, or you have a long list of superpowers, you can go through that later on. Okay, and how can you build a brand if you don't have a vision? The vision is the purpose that you have, the reason why you get up every morning. There is a why behind your dreams and a why behind your goals and the place where you want to get to. Vision is the realization of your dreams and goals, and your purpose is the why that gives meaning to the efforts that you make. So we want you to also take time to think about what your dreams and goals are as a professional, and what your purpose and vision is as a professional, where you want to get to. We all have a destination, and when we have a vision of where we want to get to, it's a lot easier to follow through on our goals and our steps to get to that vision. So that's, again, very difficult to think about. It's definitely something that not everybody has very clear at first. But we're going to show you a video of somebody that had a vision, set a goal, and followed through the steps, and that has created around that vision personal brand identity as a professional.
My name is Elon Musk. I'll create PayPal and then Tesla.
NASA turns to the private sector to resupply the International Space Station.
I recently helped create SpaceX. The reason I got into space exploration was because it didn't seem to me that we've been making the progress that we should make, given the fact that we could get to the moon in 1969. In fact, it seemed like we were going backwards.
3, 2, 1, and liftoff of the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket.
I thought it was important that we ultimately be on a path towards creating a self-sustaining civilization on Mars. And NASA awarded us one of 3 contracts to upgrade our capability to human transport.
What we're looking at here is a Dragon spacecraft pressure vessel.
I like working on engineering and design. Sales and finance are not really my forte. We intend to keep advancing space technology until it's possible for people to go to Mars. If I live, say, another 20 years at least, I think it'll probably happen.
So this is a huge example of personal brand. We all have dreams, we all have goals, we all have a vision and a purpose that is what defined our essence and the reason why we get up every morning and do what we do. And all these ideas that we have reviewed little by little need to be visually encompassed in a brand identity that is there to represent who you are. So there are certain specific elements of a visual brand. There are colors that define what your personality is or reflect what your personality is. There is typography that sets the communication style, how you want to be in communication with your audience. And there is symbology. So we're going to review your color palette, which is what identifies what your personality is. We're going to go through basic colors such as red. If you're red, red is exciting, it's powerful, it's dynamic, it shows affection and love, it's energizing and portrays friendliness and strength. If you're blue, blue is sincere, It's known for trust and dependability. It's reliable, it's responsible, it's one of the most liked colors in the whole broad of colors in the world. If you are happy, you're definitely yellow because it's a cheerful color, it's optimistic, and it's friendly. If you are elegant or sophisticated, then purple or black are your shades, and they're in connection with spirituality and imagination. Are you adventurous? Then orange is your color. Orange is fearless, it's motivated, it's enthusiastic, and is the representation of someone that's free-spirited. It means that you are forward for any challenge. And if you're green, you're competent. It reflects that you're a balanced person that is in harmony with nature too, in harmony with your group, your peers, and that is someone that's approachable in terms of being an expert. So green, again, is for a competent individual. Now I want you to choose in the questionnaire, what is your color personality? Or what you think is your color personality? And don't choose your favorite color. Choose the color that is more in connection with what people perceive in you.
Dang it, how did you know we were gonna do that?
And again, you don't have to go through it right now. It's good to take the time. It's good to take the time. So we're gonna share that link with you again. Okay.
You want us to go through the bit.ly or the
bit.ly. Brand.
Is there any way we could load that bit.ly into the chat? Maybe?
Yes, your brand exploration. bit.ly/your brand exploration.
Okay.
Gilbert, it should be the one that's in the chat. The one that's in the chat is just like the blown up, non-shortened one, but it'll take it to the same page.
Okay, that's the one. Okay, thank
exactly. Thank you. Okay, and then one last element that we're going to review is shapes as symbols, because images speak louder than words. So it is possible that you would use shapes as part of your brand identity. For example, if we use circles, circles represent completion, represent harmony, and reflect a positive emotional message. It's meant to be used as a symbol of community, friendship, love, relationships, and unity. In contrast, if we use arrows, we signify direction, signify power and progress, and it's always important to use them upwards or forward to convey the idea of advancement. If we use triangles as part of our symbology, we are associated with stability and ingenuity, and it's also a good symbol for someone that's artistic. And it's natural for humans to connect with the world that surrounds them. So nature is important sometimes for certain individuals to connect to the idea of animals, plants, environment, protection, and care for nature. So if you want to think about a symbol that you think will perfectly portray who you are, go ahead and think about it. There's a couple of options in the questionnaire. And again, if you don't see any of those there, just write them aside and think about it later. And our last element of brand that we have already talked about is the typography style. So there are three different kinds of typography. There's the serif, elegant, ancient looking one type of typography that is mostly used to portray a traditional style. We also have the sans serif that is more for a contemporary, more casual style of communication. And very frequently for personal brands, the script type type style is used to show more of a personable style. So you can choose a typography style that you think will be in better connection with the style of communication you want to portray. And keep in mind, you can mix and match. It doesn't have to be all sans serif or all serif or all script. It can be a combination. It can be as creative as you want. And remember, you can, again, answer these questions later on. There's no need to know all the answers right now. Nobody knows all the answers at first. But we hope that this exercise and the answers that we are providing today help you to define or learn that your brand is unique, that you are creating a brand is to communicate that unique promise of value and the uniqueness of you. So if you want to go ahead and complete the questionnaire, at the end of the questionnaire, you're going to be asked for your name and your email. And once you submit, you're going to be receiving those answers in your inbox. You can keep those to reflect further later. And keep in mind that this is something of value for you as a professional, for you to know who you are, so that you can better communicate to who you are to others and interact better in your ecosystem, in your professional ecosystem. I'm going to show you an example of personal brand of a client that we helped. This is Dr. Brittany Barreto. She's a geneticist and an entrepreneur whose passion for femtech has taken her to higher places. She approached this because she was starting to get a huge influence reach. Her Femtech podcast, Femtech Focus, reached #1 in the rankings, and she's the co-founder and executive director of that organization, Femtech Focus. So we came up with this beautiful visual style of a brand based on answers in this exercise that we just went through with you. And so keep in mind that we don't want you to do it yourself. You don't have to do it yourself. It's an overwhelming exercise. It's a very much introspective exercise, and we are here to help you define that idea that will better reflect who you are. Okay, so we are Vaca Design. We build captivating brands that skyrocket business growth because we believe that no business or person is so small not to deserve a winning brand. Again, if you have any questions, you're welcome to schedule a free virtual meeting. If you want to review the answers provided today or talk about anything else that will be of your interest, we'll be more than happy to do so. I don't know, Susmitha or Melissa, if we still have time to answer any questions.
Yes, we do.
Okay, well, I'm ready.
So does anyone have any questions or feedback? So if so, please unmute yourselves and let's have at it. And while we're doing that, I just want to thank you, Jennifer. I thought that was really powerful because most of us on the call have either LinkedIn profiles or we're considering, startup training businesses or a small consulting company. So the way we brand ourselves and the way we're being perceived digitally is so important these days. I thought that was a really cool exercise to go through.
Absolutely. That was the goal. That was the goal. And we're here to help you identify what are those elements that will make you basically outshine your competition.
Yeah. So this is Gilbert. The question I have. So in the among the folks that you've worked with, I mean, are you seeing certain trends, particularly now with you know, the pandemic lockdown that's going on? Have you noticed a shift in what people are looking for pre-post lockdown, or you know, that sort of thing?
Absolutely. We have found a lot of different individuals and entrepreneurs, like Melissa was saying, people that want to initiate their own businesses. And like we talked about the superpower, what do you have that can provide others with something of value? How can you help in society? How you as part of an ecosystem can help others. So we've seen a lot of solopreneurs, a lot of entrepreneurs coming to us in the fields of technology, science, and educating others, like Melissa said, teaching others, becoming coaches, and that sort of thing. So it's been very interesting to help individuals discover this visual identity. Again, like we would like to remark on the idea that a lot of times when you start an initiative, you want to do things on your own effort and your own strength, and not all the time you have the strength of visually communicate. And that's why we exist, is for helping entrepreneurs, individuals, and startup organizations to create that image that will better portray them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Gilbert.
Thank you so much for that. And so we're going to ask, I think Gilbert and Vaca has some help too, to drop their information in the chat. So if you're interested in following up with them, you're welcome to. And ALNH as customers, we've certainly enjoyed the path forward that Vaca has given us in helping us become a part of the 21st century and digitally transform our organization. And now it's time for the shameless selfie photo opportunity. So with this, I'm going to stop sharing, and you all can get out your phones and show yourselves. I thought of not combing my hair as usual, but today I splurged. So we just ask that you share and brag about yourselves. Let folks know that you're here and having the meeting with us and getting yourself educated. And so Susmitha looks like she's almost got it. She's almost 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay. Thank you all so much. And don't forget to hashtag ALNH on your favorite social media. And hopefully you all can see my screen. Next up, we are free, kind of. Help us by providing feedback. So we're going to drop that link in the chat again, and we're going to ask that you just open it up in a new tab and have it on the ready. And right after this meeting, just give us some feedback, your thoughts, some things that you want to learn about, and some feedback to our presenters tonight. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, especially Vaca. We have Whitaker IT, Agile Earth, Evolve Agility, Agile Learning Academy, Culture Architect, and Cisco. These are all really awesome companies that have supported us, and we also feel like they're talented and have a lot of value to give in the Agile industry. And so we are growing. We have some open positions. So we're looking for a social media person. And also we have a community architect lead identified. So I think that one is coming off the table. Sorry to break any hearts out there. But if you're interested in social media and you want to post for us, we'd be happy to have you. Also, pay it forward. Join our tribe as a volunteer or become a speaker. Contact us at info@alnhhouston.org. And we're going to talk about some upcoming events. Agile Learning Academy. They do some really great IC classes, which are entry level and advanced classes for those of you all who are looking to aspire your Agile coaching career path. And also Evolve Agility is doing a certified Agile leadership class. These are really great companies and they do really awesome interactive teaching. So if you all want to take a screenshot and check them out, and you're in the mood to have some local training and support local companies with a global impact, definitely check those folks out. Coming up, we are going to have Pollyanna Pixton. She's going to talk to us about collaborative leadership, trust, and ownership. So here in the Agile space, we talk a lot about emotional agility and psychological trust. So I'm really interested in finding out Pollyanna's expertise and viewpoint in this area. And that brings us to tonight's speaker. We have both Eva Dice and Susmitha Vemprala. Eva is currently serving as a senior Scrum Master, which is probably an undertitled role at Wolters Kluwer. They have the legal software, and she's just so bright and dynamic. She also serves as our treasurer, so we've had the opportunity to experience her magic. And we also have Susmitha Vemprala, who is currently with Waste Management as an Agile coach. And Susmitha has also started teaching some SAFE courses, which is pretty exciting because if she's teaching, nobody's really safe. So with that, I am going to stop sharing and turn over tonight's microphone to both Eva and Susmitha to talk to us about PI planning, the experiences of a Scrum Master and Agile coach.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Melissa. So I'm going to share my screen and then Eva, I'll let you start.
All right. Are you going to put it in present mode?
Yes.
Or do we want to leave it? There we go. All right. Thank you so much for that nice introduction, Melissa. And thank you for everybody who wants to learn about PI planning. Let's go to the next slide. All right. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So there's several thousand words covered right there. There's just like everybody else, there's many, many facets to my life besides Agile. Feel free to reach out and chat about anything you see in common. And if I weren't here tonight talking about PI planning, I would be watching basketball games. Susmitha, what about you?
Awesome. So again, awesome introduction. Thank you, Melissa. Excited to be here to talk about PI planning, something that I have had the pleasure of working with teams on. If I wasn't here today or tonight, I would have been binge watching anime with my kids. My teenager has got me addicted to that at this point. You see AOT, for those anime fans on the call, if there are any, that's the pick that I've got out here. In addition to that, of course, I love spending a lot of time with family, cooking. I am OCD, that's why I had to align the icons to fit exactly in the format that I needed on this slide. So I'll hand it off to Eva to kick off the topic today, and then we go from there. Also, just a couple of housekeeping or other logistical things that I want to get out of the way before I hand off is, if you have a piece of paper and a writing tool handy, we'd be using that couple of slides down. So just have that. It's a quick exercise that we'd want to do with the team. Also, in terms of questions, we will take questions at the end. So please do stay back, and we'll take questions in live, or you can feel free to put them in the chat as well. With that,
Okay. So SAFE, for anybody who's not familiar with the acronym, it means Scaled Agile Framework. And the most comforting thing about SAFE is Agile is in the name. So it is not anti-Agile. It is just applying Agile to very large, complicated projects where you have several teams who must coordinate to deliver something of value to the customers in the end. Just like Scrum, you have the same team structure with a Scrum Master, a product owner, everybody needed for the development. So your developers, your testers, your documentation, whoever else is needed. You just have that duplicated several times over for the multiple teams. With that, there is some added structure and some added roles. So you will have a release train engineer. You will have systems architects and engineers possibly. You'll have product management and we're talking senior product management. These are the key business stakeholders involved. You also have added structure. So where in Scrum, you just work with the team. With SAFE, you have your program and portfolio levels added in to help make sure everything stays aligned. You have this term called a program increment, which is just another time box that anybody familiar with Scrum would be familiar with. And then your sprint reviews include all of the teams. It's not just one single team. Since everybody's working together for one deliverable, everybody's involved with it. And then for the program increment, you have a program increment planning session that includes all of the teams. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Next. So the program increment planning, or PI planning, or PIP, however we want to call it, is textbook says 2 days of collaboration, but those 2 days of collaboration save months of delays and make up for probably thousands, if not almost millions of emails and wasted meetings. The beauty of a good PI planning is your requirements and design emerge through the process, and teams create and own the plans for the increment. So a really good PI planning is the magic that makes SAFE work. And next.
awesome. So here we'll do a quick exercise. It's not going to take too long. So if using your, again, writing tool as well as your paper, can you draw a triangle? Shouldn't take you more than 30 seconds to do that. So I will give us about 30 seconds, just a triangle. That's all. Awesome. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, so I see quite a few of you have already got that in. So let's take, for instance, that this triangle that we've drawn on the paper is our product that we have developed and are ready to deliver to our customers at the end of the product increment. Let's assume that that is what the product, you as product teams have developed. Now, if I were in an organization that's doing, that's using the SAFE framework, but has decided to skip PI planning and assume that we don't need that time and instead just let the teams do what they need to do. This is some of the additional information that I would have provided during the PI planning in itself. What if I had told you that my business objective, shapes being my product, We strive to pleasure our customers by providing them with high quality products. And of course, we are always looking to increase our profit margin. So which basically equates to using our paper very economically so we can draw multiple triangles on that sheet. And then of course, from a system architecture, which is also another component of what we do within PI planning. If I told you that we were always supposed to use green colors when drawing triangles and that all our triangles had to be right angle triangles, how much of rework do you think we would have had done? Or how many questions in those emails and countless number of chat messages we would have had to revalidate this or get this piece of information to get all of the individual product teams that are, say, we've got about 10, 15 of us on the call, that would have needed to be coordinating off of through emails and other avenues. So that in again, just a very small activity, it's to drive again the same point home of how important that setting the same understanding and common goals at the very start of every product increment is as critical as it would be to set up a sprint goal when you have a team kick off their product of the product sprint in itself. So I appreciate everyone actually participating. Thank you. So again, just calling out, so planning for PI. So as I mentioned in the previous, through the exercise as well, preparation is essential. And what are the critical inputs to this execution of to a successful PI planning? We have our portfolio vision and the portfolio backlog, which basically is, in essence, making sure that your business stakeholders are providing you with not just what you need to build, but what the objectives are from a business, how business views the program increment to be in terms of what success looks like. And then, of course, defining what their vision is as it equates to those epics, those enablers, those portfolio level backlog that we need to then use to have the teams aligned to the same scope, the priorities, and then, of course, making sure that we can avoid a lot of that day-to-day activities smoothened out, because everyone now is on the same page and has the same understanding. And then, of course, we have, if you do not have that alignment set before and, and skip this step, one of the things that the teams obviously are going to not have available to them is some of those critical, architectural level considerations, business, goals, objectives, making sure that you have your dependencies and the conversations and all of those hashed out and ironed out in time for, squared away before the execution of the actual activity kicks off. And then, of course, having that common planning or that dedicated time to do the PI planning also helps ensure that the teams are not just understanding the need, the want to build, but also the need of why they need to build something. Because then, as individual products that are, functioning and, churning through the sprint cycles every 2 weeks, they are also on this aware and also aligned with how they need to progress, and more so are empowered to make those day-to-day decisions that will still help them stay true to the program level goals and objectives. So, and then again, what in terms of PI planning, who needs to be involved? We need focus from all the teams. When I say all the teams, you're talking about not just the product teams that are actually building or are part of that program product or the suite of products that the program is responsible for, but also the service teams such as your DevOps teams, your UI UX teams, your enabler teams, or other platform teams such as Salesforce. If you have Salesforce as your in your company, or if you have some sort of analytics. So it's not just the primary product teams, but every supporting team that is involved in delivering the product that is built in that product increments needs to be involved in that PI planning event. And then of course, like with the reality with most of our organizations, not all resources on any given program are 100% dedicated. We all are used to wearing multiple hats and probably doing 10-day jobs, and in the same 8 to 5 time frame. So even those shared resources that have 20%, 5%, 1%, any amount of contribution towards building that product need to be involved in that PI planning event. So it is not just the primary product teams, but all supporting teams and all shared resources, all of them coming together to perform this. It is only then that we have seen it to be a successful PI planning event. Eva, I think that's first.
Yeah. So, I mean, just to drive home, who needs to participate? I mean, it is all the teams, but within each of those teams, it is everyone involved in that team. It is not a good thing to have somebody say, oh, so-and-so can't be here today. He asked me to take notes. No, you need everybody there, because you guys are going to be working through the details of what's being asked of the teams, and you need everybody's genius for that. And as soon as somebody has to miss half a day of the PI planning, Murphy's Law says there's going to be questions that come up in there that, had that person been there, they'd have been answered and we'd have been done in 15 minutes instead of having to do 3-4 days worth of follow-up meetings and emails and chasing everyone. So a successful PI planning requires your product managers, your stakeholders, program architects and engineers, the system team, the Agile teams, on down to the most junior developer and software tester. And we really mean everyone is everyone. Next. Now, we all know real life happens. So textbook suggests the 2-day agenda that you see there at the top. Real life calls for a bit more flexibility. We've got global teams. My organization works with an offshore group in Chennai. And so you get to about lunchtime and we're talking very late in their day. So lunchtime here is very, very late for them. So if we were to push them until 5 p.m. Central Time, that's like 3:30 in the morning over there. That's beyond cruel and unusual punishment. So we went to just over a kind of a hefty half day, but we do it across 3 days. That does another thing. It frees up people to deal with the business as usual. So being able to work on things and not be shut away for 48 hours. Now people know, okay, we just have to wait until after lunch and we can get a hold of Bob for this big client issue and have him help us out here. Also, there may be contractors who have limitations on the number of hours that they can spend, and trying to squeeze in 2 very fully packed days would be a very hard ask and might violate something in the contract. So this is where there's Agile in safe. You have to come up with what is it that works for your organization. And there is allowed flexibility like this, as long as at the end of the event, you have your plan in place for what's going to be delivered in this program increment. All right, next.
To add to that is, Eva mentioned, at her organization, they have global teams that are, again, they have iterated through this, or rather adjusted this 2-day event to be a 3 half-day event, 3-day half days event. For us, what we have done at the client that I'm currently at is we've adjusted this two-day event to include some of the 2-week preceding activity that goes into the preparation for the PI event, all to be split up into major, chunks of work that leads up to that, again, common understanding, common goals, and also making sure that we have the clear backlog and the agenda defined for success as we come out of that PI planning event. So again, it all each organization has its ways of adapting to this, but there are ways of ensuring that this event is held, and it is again a critical part of that success of the program increment in itself. And then, of course, the anti-patterns to watch out for. Like with any other process, there's obviously going to be that you're going to have, anti-patterns that you have to be mindful of, and also be aware of, so that you can help address it and make sure that you are, again, using the opportunity to coach, as well as to ensure that people understand the critical the importance of having this PI planning event. So of course, the first one is participation is optional mindset. Oh yes, how many of us have heard about this one? It is, again, I only just do this one aspect of this one product of the 10 products that are part of this program, so I really don't need to be there, or I really don't need to participate because I have other stuff going on and I am just a part-time resource on this particular on this program, or that doesn't matter, I don't need to be there to answer the questions, I've delegated someone else to listen in for me and scribe, and then I can probably answer the questions at a later point. So all of these these are anti-patterns that we have to again, be watchful for, because participation, as mentioned earlier, everyone is needed. Everyone's 100% being there, being present, and being available to not just align on what's being delivered in the PI increment, but also contributing to ensure that the right decisions are made in terms of whether it be within their sphere of influence of dependencies, or how the code's written, or what technical architectural designs and decisions need to be made, or considerations need to be made, all the way up to, okay, we cannot make this because there are other prerequisites or other things that are to be considered, and so on. And then of course, skip it because it's a waste of time. Yes, if I had probably even just a penny for every single time I've heard about this one, I'd probably be a very, very rich person by now.
Absolutely.
So yes, it is not an optional event. It is an all hands on deck critical piece of, critical ceremony or a critical event to the success of your PI in itself. So if you do not have everyone participating and giving their 100%, then you are, again, this is an anti-pattern that you would want to watch out for and address. And then of course, the DevOps is discretionary. No, and again, SAFe is, like the name suggests, it is an agile process. And again, it is built on the lean DevOps, principles. And it is all about developing on cadence and releasing on demand. If we discount the need for a robust DevOps process, then we are in a sense creating that glorified waterfall process, which within that program increment itself, where you spend a couple of sprints doing the development, another couple of sprints testing, and then probably doing UAT after that, and then staging it into pushing off into staging, and then so on. That is not the intent. Even within this program increment, you need to have DevOps as a mandate. and DevOps processes, and infrastructure in place, because the goal is still, even within that PI, having each increment in itself still have the same essence of having an incremental shippable product that is created at the end of it. And then, of course, we don't have the time to plan. How often have we heard that one? It's like, no, planning's all just, yeah, that's all a waste of time. Let's all just get to the doing of. And this, again, the teams miss this, the essence of the need to do the PI planning. It is all about not just understanding what needs to be done, but also why certain piece of product development or product delivery needs to be built, because then we understand, and as product teams are being a critical part of that delivery process, we are then empowered to make better decisions in our day-to-day of how we execute upon that product delivery itself. And then, of course, tips to a successful PI planning event. I'm going to skip the virtual part of it. Eva's going to address a lot more in the next slide. But then, of course, preparation just in general for a PI planning event to be successful, preparation. We do have it to be in the textbook, again, being a 2-day event. But if you read the fine print, there is a lot of activity and preparation that goes into making those 2 days successful. You need to make sure that you have the right audience, you have all of the right teams involved, you have all of the business stakeholders preparing to talk through the business objectives, the business vision, and also you have all your architects providing all of the system guidelines of what the teams need to use. In addition to, of course, making sure that you have skeleton user stories written so that the teams can then use that to build upon during the PI planning event itself. So it does not magically that everyone appears on, at the first day off and then everything's in there, and then leaving second day at the end of it, you have all, handshake happening and everything's done. There is a lot of background work that happens before the event, the 2-day event itself. So that preparation is also a very critical piece of that PI planning event to be successful. And then, of course, you have to not just have people there present physically or on the the virtual Zoom calls, but you need to have everyone participate and give their inputs in order to make sure that these events are successful. If you are a developer, you need to make sure you speak up about any considerations that need to be made, or you are just like how we have during the sprint sessions as well, making sure that you are mindful of keeping in mind not just the what's needed to be done, but also the ask of how does that business goals, objectives feed into what you're doing, and then look at it holistically. From a facilitations technique perspective, Eva.
Yes. So facilitation is for virtual meetings involves a lot of the technology solutions that are used and the different tools that can be used. My organization, we use quite a few, and some of these have developed just because somebody had familiarity with this. I will confess, Miro was inflicted on my organization because I happened to walk past their booth at the global Scrum gathering and talked with the guy, and he said, "Oh, you're from Wolters Kluwer? We've got lots of people using that." And and so I found out that they use them for PI planning, and so I showed an example of this, and they ran with it, and it's not the greatest all the time, but we make it work. Microsoft Teams keeps improving their functionality for us. We use Microsoft Teams for our meetings and our chats. We really like the breakout rooms that have been added now, and the functionality just keeps improving. A big thing that we had to get in place was having a central location for files. So when you're dealing across teams, you've got a lot of common files that you need to have, whether they are, what your coding standards are, or what's the different VM addresses for the different development environments, or the build order, or who do we contact about this type thing. And then you've got however you're working out your workflows of what needs to happen. All of that needs to be available to the entirety of your teams. Every single developer needs to be able to find that piece of information to prevent them from being slowed down later on. And then whatever your teams use for the workflows. Unfortunately, my organization at the moment is in the midst of trying to get everybody over on one platform, which means we've got people on 3 different platforms at the moment. Which can make life, it keeps it interesting. But you've got to have somewhere for the team to do their usual sprint level work of moving stories through and recording conversations and decisions made. We've started using Draw.io for our product workflows to help work things out easier. We've switched to that from Visio. And then we use Group Map for retrospectives. What tools do you guys find useful, Susmitha?
So we use, again, similar to Miro, we use Mural, and it's almost like by chance we just bumped into the tool, and then that's now our tool of choice for the virtual reality of how we're conducting the PI planning events. One of the things that we do use MS or Microsoft Teams as well. And what we've seen very beneficial for some of those breakout sessions is using the breakout rooms functionality. It actually helps. I don't know if everyone's had a chance to use that. I know it's a beta feature or probably something that's just recently put out there, but we had the opportunity to use that for a couple of our PI planning events recently, and it allows us to go in and out of these breakout rooms. So just like how you would have it where you have, say, a huge room where you have breakout sessions, probably in each corner of the room, or in nearby huddle rooms, and all of the key players like a system architect or a business or a product management team that can go in and out of these conversations can also leverage those same Microsoft breakout teams rooms, for the same purposes. We use SharePoint for our files. We've got, again, journey maps. That's a huge piece of the thing, again, for the, we usually used to do it on, again, drawing it out on and doing it on, post-it boards and so on. But now we do it on PowerPoints. And then we, of course, are, the current client I have is an Atlassian shop. So they use Jira and Confluence for a lot of those workflows and, tracking those user stories. And then, of course, for retrospectives, we use, Fund Retro, which is, of course, one of those events within the PI planning in itself is, the retro at the very end. So that's, again, just in a nutshell, some of the key pieces and elements and, tips and anti-patterns to look for as you, start to embrace the PI planning event or look into participating in a PI planning event at your, organization or your engagements. Hopefully this was useful. Again, we have probably a few minutes left to take some questions. If you have, I can't see the chat, so Gilbert, I'll probably rely on you to read out questions if you have some in the chat. If not, feel free to unmute yourself, and we'll take a couple of questions if you have.
Yeah, I don't see any. I don't see any questions yet in the chat, so I'll just share. So you just knocked out one of the two that I've come up with, which has to do with retrospectives, right? Whether those are standard parts of at the end of the PIP, and the follow-up question the follow-up question I had was whether you have seen a radical evolution in the way that your organizations have designed and executed the PIPs since, based on the retrospectives. There's a degree to which you probably can't share all that information because it may be proprietary, but I would just be fascinated to find out whether the way that you do PIPs now is radically different, say, than the way you did it maybe 1, 2, 3 years ago, kind of thing, right?
So I can speak for, I can speak at the clients and the organizations I've worked with for PI planning specifically. Yes, those retrospectives are very insightful. They give you a lot of good information as it pertains to, whether it be team members or folks that should have been involved that we didn't consider. It could be as simple as, hey, we needed more time for this particular event, or to be mindful again of the virtual reality of what we are all having to work through. Is sometimes it is the nuances of, we should just have a lobby or someone who is mediating a common room that can help us migrate or help us navigate the different breakout rooms. I know that Eva's got probably some other ways of how they help manage visibility into the different breakout rooms and so on. Eva?
Yeah, so definitely the retrospectives are, I came across, and I forget where I saw it in my time, but of all of the Agile events that you can do, the retrospective is the first one you should implement and the last one you should ever consider getting rid of.
Right.
And so SAFE definitely makes use of the retrospectives. We do, in my organization, we do team retrospectives, and then we do a program increment retrospective for the program level and include everybody. But as a result of that, we have come up with improvements. So we put out an agenda for the 3 half days that we do, and include in there links that go directly to either the common room or a room set up for each team, a room set up for the Scrum Masters, a room set up for the product owners, so that at the different times when the different groups are supposed to meet, the meeting room is already set up, and it's all virtual. So I mean, everything's set up so they just join the room, and then if somebody needs to be brought in, they just ping someone and say, hey, come join this
Right.
meeting, or someone from team A says, we've got a question for team C. Joe, you go jump on their call and check and ask them this question and come back.
Right.
And that's made things a lot better. We've also keeping track of the workflows and actually taking the time to draw the workflows out and getting agreement from all of the teams involved is something that has come out of the retrospectives, so that everybody's on the same page sooner.
Yeah.
Instead of after the code's delivered and the other teams are testing it and going, we just wanted to save a file. Why are you asking me for what color my car is?
Right.
I mean,
yeah. The second, so first of all, thank you very much. I'm satisfied. You have answered my question wonderfully. The second of 2 questions I had has to do with compliance enforcement. Have either of you in current or previous firms encountered management willing to document PI planning as part of employee KPIs, meaning that their bonus for the quarter or the year would be affected if they allowed something to get in their way of participating in the PI planning process? I'm just curious.
Not necessarily, and I probably wouldn't encourage that either, because
Okay.
that is, I mean, again, that's just my perspective of, I think one of the things as an agile coach, having coached multiple teams who again feel participation is an optional and a waste, and probably a waste of their time, I think it is critical for us to ensure that the teams understand the value that it brings and how this event in itself helps ease in the burden of what are ease in the path to how they're going to implement some of this work that is on their plate over the
Right.
next several weeks. Frankly, it's typically 5 to 6 sprints. We're talking about a good 8 to 10 weeks worth of work, or probably even longer in some organizations. I think it's better that we probably have it driven from that aspect. I haven't necessarily seen where an organization incentivizes or probably even puts it on some sort of a performance review.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the performance review is a little late to be looking at doing something like that because you only do those once a year.
Yeah.
And so the feedback that I've seen needs to be quicker than that. And my organization actually did a good job of getting the executive team on board when they went with SAFE. So it was understood from the top down, this is not optional.
Right. Well, so the only thing I would say at first, again, thank you. Your perspective is invaluable on that. The only just for clarity, where I've seen KPIs implemented, that conversation happens at the beginning of the year to say, by the way, this is going to be what we expect from you for the next 12 months. And then that triggers the question of what, right? Why is this? Well, let me explain why this is important for you to participate in the PI, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, but point taken. We've gotten a couple of questions in the chat.
Mhm.
And
the first one came in from Shay.
Yes.
So how can you implement SAFE in our industry? Shay, what industry do you mean?
Healthcare, but I think you answered that. You said to start with retro first. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it's SAFE is a really big tool to use. So you may not want to scare people off with SAFE, but definitely you can implement Agile in pretty much any industry. I've seen it work in product development of hardware with laboratory instrumentation and entirely software, which is what I'm currently dealing with. Okay, and then
so Arun shared a implementation roadmap that may be supplemental to your response to Shay just now.
Yeah.
Sarbit has a question. How is the Scrum Master to teams ratio? Is it 1-to-1 or 1-to-multiple?
In my organization, we try for 1-to-1.
Yeah.
But we do have some 1-to-9. I hope not. We do have some instances where I am actually Scrum Master to 2 teams, one that's involved with the SAFE implementation and one that is an external product.
I've seen where I think 1 to 3 is also something that some Scrum Masters are able to pull off. But again, it all depends a lot on how again, what's the experience level from a Scrum Master in itself, and also where within the journey of the Agile maturity does the team stand in terms of are they someone that's teams that are well situated in terms of being those self organizing, self-governing, and all of those the good stuff in terms of the spectrum of Agile maturity. Also being cognizant of time, I know we're 2 minutes over the published time, so this is a quick slide. Again, Eva and myself would love to connect with you on LinkedIn, have virtual coffee. Please do use the QR codes. This will take you to our LinkedIn pages. Please send us a note, connect with us. We will stay back and answer a few more questions, but for those that again have a hard stop, thank you again for joining us, and stay safe, stay brave, stay agile.
Yes, and thank you, Arun, for your insightful answers.
Thank you.
I'm going to end this.
So
but
I would like to, before anyone else goes, I would like to request everyone's feedback via the link that I just provided. Looks like we've lost a few folks. If you'd be so kind as to click on that bit.ly/ALNH feedback, that would be tremendous. Yeah. So thank you very much, everyone. Again.
I do
Thank you,
have a
everyone.
question.
Yes.
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 And it's for Eva. I am in a situation where I'm an enterprise agile coach and we have almost a failed transformation. And the leaders are not in sync with the teams. And the company that I work for is trying to become a platform company. And we have a great product, but if we don't get our arms around aligning leadership and teams, we're just not going to be in business anymore because we're not making our customers happy. And so one of our shareholders has said, let's try scaled agile. Okay. And I was excited about that in one way, but because we're a platform company, I'm not quite sure if we want to do the heaviness of scaled agile. And so where I'm at right now is how do I help our leaders using Miro virtually to run this transformation using scaled agile so that the leaders can learn how to do, let's say, a PI planning before we roll it out to the teams. And that way, then when we actually do the actual transformation to some of the teams, the leaders know these activities. Have you ever done that? It's almost like taking the transformation backlog and doing like a PI thing.
Yes, yes, it is. I have not done something like that. And I actually was not involved in the initial rollout, but I do know I got some insight into what was presented to the executive team to get their buy-in and get everybody aligned. And it laid out the purpose. And one thing that is true about SAFe as well as any agile transformation is neither one of these is going to be the silver bullet that saves the day.
Yep.
They will both make life much, much messier, quicker.
Because you're going to be exposing all your
Yes.
underwear. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
So it will expose the problems that you have. And we had an outside consultant come in who didn't have any of the weight of ties with any of the executives, wasn't in any of the reporting chains, and so had the freedom to speak truth to power and tell them this is what's at stake here, and this is what you're signing up for.
And that we are
is no
doing that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to be bringing in, because right now we're also dealing with culture issues, and psychological safety is number one right now.
Huge.
And none of the enterprise coaches feel comfortable challenging the management team. So we will be doing that. But I just, out of curiosity, because we've got them in Miro right now at the management team level and at the C level. And so it's really neat because I think we can do something with this and build a backlog for them.
Absolutely.
And you can see like who, like what does the transformation team do? What does the leadership team do? And what does the pilot teams do for this? But I just not sure how to execute it. And so I thought I'd ping you real quick and get any ideas, and I'll ping you on LinkedIn too, and then I can share with you my journey, because it's a painful one. But this scaled agile PI planning, I've done it before for many companies, and it's awesome. I've just never done it virtually, and so that's where it becomes painful.
Right. And
Yeah.
actually, I've been in. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go for it.
No, Murray, actually, if you don't mind me answering, I have been in a similar situation. In fact, one of the unique things of the PI planning, it's almost the fifth iteration of it since we've started staying remote, is we kicked off ours in the virtual one. So we made the use case for having this and sold it to the executives, had the buy-in all through the virtual, in the virtual world. And again, it's a lot of what Eva mentioned is is true. It actually exposes a lot of the problems. And frankly, we didn't do it through Miro, but Miro is also another, great tool. In fact, we didn't even have the buy-in at that point to have a tool like Miro or Mural for that matter. We just used just some visualizing board. It could be a simple PPT where you bring out all the things that you need to achieve or what you want to achieve, and just put it all together, and then put the money or the resources that you have, club that together, and just do something like you do in a sprint planning, only at a very large scale. And then we've even done these value stream mapping, in fact defining the value streams itself in a virtual world as well. So I'd love to chat with you and see, again, talk more about that. As I said, there are some nuances to doing it in the virtual world, but I know for a reality it is possible. It's just that you'll probably have to obviously have your the undivided attention from your executives or your stakeholders. To make it
Yep. Yeah, we only get a half hour at a time with our leaders, so that's another
Mm.
challenge, you know.
Yep.
Well, I can't thank you enough. This has been really, really exciting and helpful.
I appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? I'm not following.
I don't see anything else. Arun says this was a very useful session. Thank you, Arun. I don't know if you're still here. And then, yeah, so the only thing that I was just going to point out is if anyone is interested in volunteering, I put a link in there for the email address. So anyhow, so Uju, thank you very much. If you're interested in volunteering, go ahead and copy the email address that I put in the. There you go. All right.
Love it.
Thank you.
Oh,
Okay.
that is awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
So if we don't have anything else, what I was going to suggest, Eva, Jennifer, Susmitha, maybe we stay on here at the end and maybe do an internal retro if you want to, or not. It's up to you.
Okay,
Right.
I'm going to stop the recording again. Thank you everyone for coming, and for those who stayed on, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
To give us and all your valuable questions. It gets us thinking along the lines of, again, all of the other challenges and variations of the challenges that we see in the real world of how all of us as professionals being advocates of this process are facing.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Jennifer. Thanks, Eva. Thanks, Susmitha.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gilbert.
Thank you.